All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
And I'm Eric.
And today we are going to be talking about the rumors that have been surrounding the Monolith recruiting for a new Zelda project. A lot of people feel like this is a Monolith soft-led project. Other people are not so sure. Then we have Hideo Baba leaving Square Enix. Give me 1 second. There we go.
That was me.
Oh, was that you? Okay.
Yeah, that was me. You're good.
I was like, all of a sudden I hear myself in the background. Okay.
I am posted.
Hideo Baba leaves Square Enix and Project Prelude Rune. So that's kind of a big deal because we didn't know too much about that game other than the trailer. So we want to get into that. Then we saw that Octopath Traveler is going to be on PC in Korea. So is it going to come over here? I don't know. We're going to talk about that. Then there's also been a trailer for a Dragon Quest V movie. It's supposed to come out, I think, later in this year in Japan. But it looks really, really good. So we want to talk about that. And then we have a question from one of our viewers posted in Discord who says, was there an RPG that ever made you genuinely emotional? It doesn't happen often, but there have been a few occasions where a game has affected me either through powerful storytelling or an overwhelming feeling of nostalgia. Interested to hear if you guys have ever experienced something similar, and if so, what game and why? I think that was Second Entity that asked that question, so we appreciate that. And without further ado, though, Eric, I think I know what you've been playing this week. I think it's the same thing that I've been playing, but what have you been playing this week?
I have been playing Final Fantasy VII on the Switch.
Me too.
And it's pretty much exactly as I predicted. It's the HD version, but hey, it's Final Fantasy VII. It's still a good time. It runs. It's probably the smoothest I've ever played the game. I never got like the PS4 HD version.
Okay. Yeah.
So like playing this one, it's like it feels weird playing Final Fantasy VII and like at a higher frame rate, and the low polygons look better. But
yeah.
I'm having a good time with it. It's I've already obtained the airship in the game, so I've put plenty of time into it.
Yeah, when you messaged that to me today, I was like, Jesus Christ. So that's good progress though, especially with that *3 feature. Yeah, you know, like I said before, I have this game on the PlayStation, I have it on the PS3, and then I have it on the PS4, the PC. So now I got it on the Switch. I was giving it glowing praise last week. I would still give it much praise this week after spending more time with the game. However, I do want to walk back a few things. In the overworld, the battle theme, the overworld theme will restart when you end battles. I don't like that. I don't know why they don't fix that. But it's at least the game's not crashing. You know, the audio sound effects aren't over compressed like we saw in Final Fantasy IX. So and the backgrounds actually gel well with this upscaled version of the game. So it's not like hideous to look at like we got in the Final Fantasy IX version, Final Fantasy IX games for the Switch. So it's still, I think, a really, really good port. I don't know about you though, but when I played on the big screen, I noticed that switching between *3 and going back to regular speed, it does kind of stutter a little bit sometimes. So I find that it looks the best and plays the best in portable mode, which is weird because you'd think it'd be the opposite. But for me, that's the way I enjoy to play the game. So
yeah, the mods. Yeah, there's mods in the game.
There's mods?
I mean, they're technically mods. 3x.
Oh, the times. Oh, yeah. Have you been using those at all?
No.
I've been
using.
using.
7's an easy game. It's not.
Yeah.
So
I haven't used any of the other I think there's, I don't even know what I think there's like a God mode or something, and then like a infinite money or something. I don't know. I haven't used those modes, but I have been using the *3 mode, and generally I don't like when you speed the game up, because like in Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age, when you speed the game up, it's like ridiculously fast. At times 3, it's just like it's hard to even handle the game going that fast. And that's one thing I didn't like about these games when they offer that feature. But for some reason, like in the Switch version, the times 3, like it feels like appropriately paced. It doesn't feel too ridiculous. You know, Cloud is running pretty fast, but he's not zipping around the screen a billion miles an hour. It's just faster, right? So I think they got a really good setting for the speed in which the character model moves. So
Yeah,
I like it.
I know the Final Fantasy 9 one that I played around with that, and I mean it was so fast that like you couldn't like control much. It was like if you really wanted to blaze through like battles and stuff quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, usually I'll use times 3 on like the kind of regular enemies where all I'm gonna do is attack, right? But if it gets like a boss battle or a specific enemy that I encounter that I have to be a little more careful with, I'll go ahead and turn the times 3 off, because I've gotten into trouble where, you know, they'll attack Cloud or whatever like 5 times by the time I choose a move, and I just can't keep up with that. And obviously I turn it off during the story sequences and the cutscenes and everything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the game already feels faster without it. It's like everything feels so smooth. Like going through menus are so fast to like just save. It's just like instantly saved and you're going
Yeah.
back to it. Feels like
Mhm.
I'm playing a Super Nintendo game, not a PlayStation one sometimes. I mean the loading is just that fast.
Yeah, so all in all, I think it's a great way to play the game. I do think that the music, for some reason, I don't know if it's at a slightly lower sample rate than was on the PlayStation 4 version, but sometimes some of the tracks do feel like they're not fully there. I don't know how else to say it, but it could just be me listening to it on these headphones. You know, maybe it's just me over analyzing. All in all, it doesn't detract from my enjoyment. It's still very high quality. Obviously, it's not the MIDI soundtrack that you got on the 1998 PC version or whatever, where it was have like, you know, super fake sounding piano and stuff. Obviously, it's the PlayStation version for the audio, so it's a good version of the game. I recommend it.
Me too.
So we'll have to, at some point, we're gonna have to do a Final Fantasy VII discussion video.
Have we already done that, or is it or the remake?
Well, we talked about the remake a lot. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed that. We talked about the remake a lot, and then we've talked about Final Fantasy 13. We did that back in the day. So I don't think we've done Final Fantasy 7. I'll have to double check, but
yeah, it's foggy in my head too. I feel like I've done it, but I may have not.
I feel, yeah, we've talked about Final Fantasy 7 related topics a lot. So I don't know if y'all want a Final Fantasy 7 discussion video like we've done with some of the other games. Let us know. We could probably do that in the future, especially if we start getting some Final Fantasy 7 remake content coming out here, hopefully this year. Then that could kind of correspond with some of that stuff. So that'd be exciting. Moving on, though, this was an interesting story that came out, and it can be interpreted in multiple ways. But Monolith Soft, they have a new recruiting page for a new Zelda project, and it's got everybody in a frenzy over, like, what does this mean? Monolith Soft is leading the project? Does that mean they're just giving support on the project like they have in the past? Why hasn't Nintendo been the one to announce this? Why is Monolith Soft doing it? And honestly, like, if you look at their recruiting page, I'm going to try to pull this thing up. You're not going to be able to read it because it's in Japanese, but it's very clearly a Zelda game. If I can ever pull it up on here. There we go. Let me pull up a window capture. All right. So here's the recruiting page. I don't know what this says. This is in this is like graphics in Japanese, right? So Google won't let me translate this because I can't read it. But you have this Triforce deal here, and if you don't play Zelda games that often, this is what that looks like. So it's clearly Zelda. It's got like these sword icons. So it's on the Monolith Soft recruitment page, and a lot of people feel like, like Nintendo's given Monolith Soft like creative freedom to create their own Zelda game, because they feel like Nintendo would have been the one to announce, and this boldly of a fashion, another Zelda game, which we all know Nintendo's working on. It's just, they haven't really shown us anything. So I guess the other thing that's been floating around regarding that, in support of that, is the fact that Monolith Soft had a similar recruiting page back in 2017, where they were posting some concept art, and I guess people didn't recognize it then, but if you go back and look at it now, people have found in the concept art again the Triforce symbols on these pillars here. They're all over the place. For comparison's sake, there's that. Then we go to the Triforce right there. This looks like the goddess statue, or it could be a goddess statue from a Zelda game. Again, Breath of the Wild here, but that's kind of post-apocalyptic looking. And then also there is the other image that was posted of what looks like a female warrior. Some people have speculated could be Zelda herself, because she's wearing this crown, which you sometimes see in her and some of the artwork for her. She's usually wearing a crown of some sort, and there's this red dragon that's kind of flowing in the background. Some people, I think this is kind of silly, but they think it might be Valu from Wind Waker. I don't know about that, because this one looks a lot more sinister. But regardless, if these two recruiting pages are the same, they're recruiting for the same things. A lot of people are wondering, like, why is Monolith Soft recruiting so many people over a long period of time for a game that Nintendo has not really brought up? There's been a couple of different theories. We don't know for sure on any of them what it might be or what it could be, other than we know that at least right now they're recruiting for a Zelda project. We don't know what that is. Eric, I think you're a little more cautious than other people, probably myself also. But you want to give your thoughts on this whole shenanigan?
I'm not cautious. I'm just straight out confident that Monolith Soft is only having the amount of involvement that they've always had. And to give people a little history, this is not Monolith Soft's first foray into Zelda. They have been working on it, their map design and their world structure, ever since Skyward Sword. So Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds, and Breath of the Wild are their three that they've worked on, and they've had major involvement in it, but they have not been the head people running it. They've been working more like contractors under Nintendo. Eiji Onomura has been running this ship since Ocarina of Time. Yeah. And it's always been Nintendo in-house, with at most support from another company on other aspects like the world design and everything like that. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, to be clear, I got pulled up on the screen how they've worked on a lot of stuff with Nintendo. I mean, we got Animal Crossing, Splatoon 1, Splatoon 2, and then obviously the three Zelda games that you said that they've given development support for. Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Wii they worked on. So it's not unusual for them to provide support.
Right. So they just may be hiring people to get this monumental task done, because Breath of the Wild was a very big game, and they said their next console game was going to be an open air game like Breath of the Wild. So obviously, if you're going to go into something like this again, you're probably going to have recruiting more people, especially since you'll probably be pushing graphical power a little more, since the Switch is a little more powerful than the Wii U. It could be a number of reasons why they're recruiting. They may have just had to restructure, stuff like that. Don't get your hopes up. I don't even know why you get your hopes up. I'm a little iffy with Monolith Soft in general, but they do great with the terrain and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Breath of the Wild is obviously a show of this, so I'm glad if they come back for that. But I think people need to. I think people are already over speculating this. This is going to be in house, like always, ran by Eiji Inamura. The most that we've had third party development involvement in
Mm-hmm.
was Capcom with Oracle of Ages Seasons and Minish Cap. Besides that, it's pretty rare that Nintendo lets someone besides themselves make a Zelda product, and that was a handheld. Those were handheld games on top of that, not main console ones.
Yeah. The way I look at it, and again, like I'm not like a gigantic Zelda fan. I like them, I enjoy them, I like playing them. But usually, like that type of gameplay, I have a hard time spending 40 or 50 hours on. I usually get bored. But that's just me. I realize it's my own weakness, right? But when I look at this, like I kind of side with you. Like that's probably what it is. But I'm probably more in the like cautiously. That's what it is. But I don't think it's necessarily. I can see where people are getting this idea from, and I don't think it's necessarily outrageous because they've been recruiting for this for 3 years. Back to 2017, so that seems like a very long time. And I've heard other people say that if Breath of the Wild 2 was happening, or if it was going to be announced, Nintendo is very protective of that. They wouldn't let some third party put such an obnoxious recruitment page up with and then again with the link, the post before with the concept art where we have this Triforce here and just all this different like Zelda material on there. And some people have even pointed out that, hey, like Monolith Soft has been working with them for a couple Zelda games. They did work on Breath of the Wild. People really liked Breath of the Wild. You can closely correlate Nintendo Switch sales with Breath of the Wild. And Nintendo wants probably to release more than one Zelda game a console life now. And it's possible that maybe they're letting Monolith Soft do a side Zelda game, or some people have suggested maybe it could be a remade game of an earlier Zelda game. I don't think that's the case because that's not really what Monolith Soft does. They usually don't do remasters or remakes of older games. I mean, they didn't even make the Xenoblade Chronicles version on the 3DS. Somebody else did that. So, but I can see when you look at this imagery, you're seeing all this Zelda imagery from 2017. Then you're looking at it's 3 years later. Why is Monolith Soft the only one recruiting for this? I can see where they're getting to that point in their head where they're like, well, maybe Monolith Soft can just be trusted with making some kind of Zelda game, whether that be an actual Zelda game where Zelda herself is the heroine, and they tell some new story. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily implausible, but I do see what a lot of longtime fans, including yourself, are kind of saying that this is probably very similar to what they did in the past.
I don't get people's desire to have a game where Zelda is the hero of the game, because I mean, a lot of it is supposed to be you are a reflection of the character, so it's kind of taken that away when you kind of make a story like that, and then you have to make Zelda a certain way, unless you're just going to make her a blank slate similar to Link. Then, in that case, you might as well make Link. But I'm 100% for making Link, or like giving you the option to make Link male or female at the beginning. I think that would be a fantastic idea, because there's an equal amount of men and women who love Legend of Zelda, so it makes sense to make a two gender versions of the same character. But Zelda to me is like an established NPC character in there, and it's just I feel like we get like a Wanda Gamelon or Zelda's adventure type scenario. Those are the CDI games. If people don't know,
Yeah.
obviously wouldn't be that bad, but you would have it where like Zelda is her own character, and you don't feel like you have like much control of what she does, or like or how you can reflect yourself onto her, which
Hmm.
is the point of Link ever since the NES one. So that's why I've alwa's been against when people say, "Oh, we just should make Zelda the main character." And like Dante says down below, Linkle's design already exists in Hyrule Warriors, and she was a popular character on that game, so it would be a good idea for them to do that.
Yeah. Um, I mean, whether or not it would be a good idea, I think visually it looks kind of cool from the concept image I saw. Um, I mean, I could totally get to the need for what Zelda is and the spirit of Zelda. Have the character be your avatar, right? So just have a female Link if that's what you need. I totally get that too. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't know, man. I do see where people are getting though that this could be some more involved Monolith project, given Monolith Soft has only been the only one really talking about this or recruiting for this from what we've seen for 3 years. I do see where maybe this is some kind of side game. If that's the case, you know, and I'm not saying that is, it very easily could just be them supporting Nintendo and in a more public fashion. But if it was their own game, like they gave them the option to kind of do their own thing, it would be interesting if this was more RPG centered than you know, other Zelda games. Because I kind of would look at Zelda as kind of like an action RPG, even though I realize, like, technically speaking, Zelda games traditionally are not the exact definition of an RPG because you don't have the dice roll and everything. But it would be interesting if they kind of went that route. Obviously, it might change things a little bit because I would assume you have a party of some sort or something like that. But there's a lot of different interesting ideas you can conjure up when you try to brainstorm what could be done with the series, whether it's a Zelda protagonist or just a female Link or even like some other style of game. It could be pretty cool.
I
So
hope they take what Breath of the Wild made and make it better. If I had, if I have the biggest complaint for Breath of the Wild, I mean,
mhm.
I think it's a masterpiece. I 100% the game, but I think it needed more open world dungeons. Like the Divine Beasts were not very creative in terms of dungeons, but I really liked Hyrule Castle. Hyrule Castle was a pretty awesome open world dungeon. You could approach it how you wanted to, and I think if they just scattered like 8 dungeons out in the world that are like Hyrule Castle,
Mhm.
and then make less shrines, but make the shrines more meaningful, and have their own themes and everything. Um, and of course, add more towns, make it the world more lively this time than 100 years later after the whole shebang happens. I think that would be an amazing sequel to Breath of the Wild, or like a pseudo sequel.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool for sure. Um, I don't know. So if I mean, very clearly, obviously, the recruitment page is a Zelda game, or like I think that's undeniable. Like if you go to the recruitment page, it's got like Zelda stuff all over it, right? That's pretty undeniable. Is what you're thinking, that they're recruiting for the next Breath of the Wild, like the sequel to Breath of the Wild, or do you think they're recruiting for a side project? Obviously, you don't know for sure, but what's your gut reaction?
If I think it's going to be a large scale, just for the way they advertise it, for how many people they need in it.
Hmm.
That's my speculation on that. I think everything they're hiring for is more for the technical side of everything.
Hmm.
Like they work on everything in the background, and Nintendo in house does their usual stuff. Like the design and the characters and
If
everything like that.
Yeah. If you wanted to, if we did look at it through that lens, that would kind of make sense given that, okay, hey, they were hiring for these people in 2017. They're still hiring more people now. We said that the next Zelda game is going to be even bigger and better. And then we know basically that Nintendo wants to come out with a more powerful Switch. I'm sure they would love to launch with a Zelda game on that. That would make a lot of sense to me. I could see that happening. So
Yeah, so I guess we'll see. And trust me, color me surprised that Monolith Soft has full control of the entire project. But
well, full control is a big word, but
well, to the level that
creative freedom. Yeah,
people in here say that like they're going to take over character design, the story, stuff like that. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. I'll put my $5 down on it.
I would say that if they're going to have creative control at that level, that it would be probably kind of like a side game, like you would see with maybe like Dragon Quest Builders or something like that. That doesn't really like matter that much, but it's like a cash grab. Maybe not. Obviously, it wouldn't be like a Minecraft type game, but I could see something where it's a side game, right? But I couldn't see like a main series game being controlled by another team. So
yeah, if it was a handheld spinoff like Oracle of Ages Seasons and Minish Cap, which Capcom did, I could see that. But if people are thinking like a full large scale console game, like Nintendo has kept complete control of that ever since the very first Zelda game on consoles.
Yeah,
not counting the CDI ones.
Well, that was an interesting story.
Yeah. I think that was less than enough for them to keep it in house.
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, let us know what your thoughts are regarding this. Whether you think this is Monolith Soft's new RPG / action game. The next Zelda game is a Monolith Soft made game, like Square Enix made a Mario RPG, or do you think this is just another recruitment ad for the next Zelda game, and Nintendo's gonna play the same role it always has as the creative director of the game? So let us know. Moving on though, every time I say this guy's name, I always feel like I'm jacking it up. But Hideo Baba, he's best known as the creative force behind the Tales series. He's pretty much been involved with almost all of them, except there's a handful. Surprisingly, I think it's some of the best ones, but I was looking it up. Vesperia, he was only the brand manager for, and then Berseria, which I like Berseria's story a lot. He wasn't involved with that basically at all.
Those are the ones I really like, though.
I know. So I was like, maybe this isn't like...
He's the one that's been making the ones I don't really care for much.
Yeah, that's what I was like, man, maybe it was a good thing he left.
Is he the Tabata of the Tales series here?
Yeah, it was like... I was like looking at his track record of seeing like Zestiria. I was like, oh, I know that one wasn't very much liked. But he did work on Xillia and then Xillia 2 and then obviously the originals as well. So
I think the only one of those that I think they're actually decent is Xillia 1. Like Xillia 2 was bad. Zestiria was meh.
Yeah, I liked Xillia 1. I didn't beat it, but I got decently far into it. I enjoyed it. Here's the full list. I pulled it up on the screen of the games he's worked on. So here's all of them. It's not that many, but Tales of Destiny, Tales of Innocence, Tales of Destiny Director's Cut, Tales of Vesperia. He was the brand manager. He was not the director or producer. The other games he was producer director. Tales of Hearts, Tales of Graces, Tales of Graces F, Tales of Xillia, Xillia 2, and Zestiria. Then Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World, Tales of the World, Tales of the I don't know, Tales of the Heroes, Twin Brave. Anyways, so I don't know. He wasn't a creative force on Tales of Vesperia, and I liked Berseria, so I
thought he worked on Symphonia, Abyss, and Vesperia. I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah, according to fandom.com, which I don't know if that's an authoritative source on this, they got him listed as either director or producer of all those games that I read, except on Vesperia, he's only the brand manager. So y'all are watching this and you know something more authoritative, let us know. But regardless, that's not the reason we're bringing him up. He left that series in 2016, and he came on to Square Enix, and he became the president of this studio that was basically going to be owned by Square Enix. It was Studio Isotola, I think is how it's pronounced. And the first project that they were going to be working on is this game called Project Prelude Rune. I thought it looked promising. Let me see if I can pull up a trailer for it so that we can talk about this. I thought it looked interesting. Do you remember this trailer, Eric? It came out in like September last year.
I do. It was just like a guy like with awkward animation running through a field, looking to a mountain to the side. Like the graphics looked good. Like I liked the cell shading, but like the main character was just walking so awkwardly.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, again, I think our take on it was it looks awkward, it looks a little stiff, but we like the graphic style, like you said. But it was the first trailer for the game, so sometimes the early trailers aren't a good case to be made for what the game will eventually be like. But with that said, Hideo Baba, he decided to leave Square Enix, or at least the studio, in December, and it looks like he announced his departure from Square Enix at the end of March. I think he probably left Square Enix in December as well, and Square Enix just paid him like a fortune to not say anything until after the fiscal year was over, which was April 1st. That makes more sense to me because I don't know.
That does make too much sense.
Yeah, because why would you, if you step down, you're like, nope, I'm not working on this game anymore. And then like you still work at Square Enix for the next 3 months until the close of, you know, you've reported all your financial documents and everything like that. So it just makes sense to me. But anyways, so this game looked actually kind of promising though to me. Like if they worked on it some more and it was a little more polished, I like the visual aesthetic of the game. It looks interesting. So this game is probably never going to see the light of day now. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Do you think they're going to have a different director work on this game, or
they've probably put money into it already, and
that doesn't. Yeah, that makes me think they're just going to make a cash grab out of it and just put minimal resources into it just to get some sales and try to recoup costs.
Let me ask though, how much does it suck working at Square Enix if you leave like midway through your first project?
Well, yeah, like look at that. Then Tabata just left after they gave him his own studio. Must not be a very good place to work, unless you're like Katase or something. Where I'm pretty sure Katase and Nomura just it would be painful to Square Enix if they left, so they just let them do whatever they want.
I mean, we've talked about it before. I mean, Square Enix is just, and it's pretty obvious there's mismanagement happening over there. And maybe Hideo Baba just jumped off before things got too heated. Maybe Project Rune isn't what he visioned, or he's not getting enough like resources to make it a great game. Because even saw from that awkward animation that's like there's no motion capture for that stuff, which is not uncommon. But just saying, like it looked like something like PS2 level type deal there. It didn't feel natural, just from that trailer alone. But that's just the trailer. I can't say what the actual game would be like, but I don't know. I wasn't even really paying attention in this one, just after just being disappointed with Tales games. Like Rosaria was like the best one that came out in years, and even then, I don't think it holds a candle to games like Vesperia and then Abyss. But it was a step up. It was a step in the right direction. But I didn't really care about Hideo Baba as a director anymore. But that's at the time when I thought he did Abyss and Vesperia. I'm like, what happened, man? What happened to your groove?
And maybe he just got burnt out making so many games. Yeah,
like that. Now that turned out it wasn't your groove at all. It's a different one.
You were actually part of the problem. Yeah.
But so, I don't know.
His official tweet says, accompanying the change in Studio ISA, I think I was pronouncing it wrong, Istolia. So Studio Tolia's management policies. I have resigned as the company's president as of the end of December 2018 and resigned from Square Enix as the end of March 2019. Baba said in a press release, thank you again to Square Enix Group for giving me a variety of experience. I will continue to support everyone from behind the scenes, and I sincerely hope for the future growth of Square Enix Group. So, yeah. Apparently, he's just citing a change in the management policies. That's a little weird if you're the president of the studio. Like, so obviously he's basically saying, yeah, like Square Enix is the problem. It seems like to me. So I don't know.
I feel like two scenarios are going to come out of this. Well, three. I'll give it three. One is they decide to release the game or finish it, and it's might be a mediocre slog game that people will be like, "Don't waste your $60 on." Two, they cancel it, or three, they get someone who's passionate enough to make the game work, and it may actually turn out being good. I don't have any hopes for the third choice. But the first two sound like the most likely thing to come out from Project Rune, if it makes it past.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with your assessment on that. It's just, I guess there's part of me that just thinks like this game is just going to get canned because like this whole studio in which this game was developed under was like an incentive for him to come to Square Enix, right? Like it's like, hey, you're this well-known person. Like come over here. We'll give you all these resources. We'll give you your own team. You can do whatever you want. And he left Bandai Namco and joined Square Enix for the sole purpose to work on this game, right? And to like run his own studio. So now that he's left, is this studio still going to be a thing? Or I wonder, is Square Enix going to just collapse that and have it like merge into some other studio that they own? Or like how is this going to work? Because I mean, it's kind of like Tabata's studio that they formed. Like Tabata's going to have his own studio and he was going to lead it, and then Tabata like quit like 4 months later. It's like, does that studio still exist? Like, what do they do? You know, and then what do they do with the projects that these people were working on? The fact that we got a trailer though and people know about this game, I feel like they have to do something with it. So
maybe he was like, okay, so if we do this amount of development work each day, we could probably get this game done in about less than 2 years. About that, I think that'd be a good range. And like, just like Square Enix, like upper management is like, yeah, is there any way you can just stretch that development time out to at least 8 years?
Yeah, we need 8 years. Sounds good. That would be productive.
8 years sounds great. Don't worry, we'll release a trailer now, but you can't say a thing about it until that last 8th year.
8 years is better than 10 years, so they'll think we're showing improvement, but it's still comfortable speed for us. Yeah.
So make like an asset to your game, like one asset, like a drawer or something inside of a house. Take the week off, then come back and make another asset. Yeah, do something like that.
And he's just like, oh, how about this? How about I quit in December, but I don't actually leave the company till the end of March. Yeah.
I don't know. But joking aside, I mean, there are some serious management issues happening at Square Enix. Now, we don't know the full context of this.
Mm-hmm.
There could be something completely legitimate that like neither side could prevent, but I'm still putting my money on Square Enix did some horrible mismanaging, and Hideo Baba likely jumped ship.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious to see if he's going to go back to Bandai Namco and just work on more Tales games, if they'll even take him back. They might be upset at him for going to a competitor, right? That might be a thing. I don't know. Maybe he's got a better offer elsewhere. We don't know. So,
or maybe we'll see him on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
I made my own company.
Maybe he'll just make mobile games like Sakaguchi and make everyone mad. That's a possibility too. So we'll have to keep following this, but unfortunately, Project Prelude Rune does not look like it's in good shape. Moving on, we have Octopath Traveler on PC. So there was some kind of announcement that was released that Octopath Traveler is coming to PC in Korea. I'm assuming South Korea, right? All I saw was Korea. I'm sure, they're not releasing this in North Korea. Anyways, it's going to be released there. It's on PC. And there's been kind of some speculation. Is it only going to be on PC in Korea, or is it going to come over to the States or elsewhere. I'm sure it will if they've already done the work to port it to PC. I don't know why they wouldn't just do a little bit more work and have it, in English.
If the exclusive is, I'm sorry, the exclusivity, that's a hard word to say for me. If that's gone with Nintendo already, there's nothing about this game holding them back from putting it on PS4 and PC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just got to put some like resolution, and that's about it. Release it to PC and PS4. There you go.
Yeah, so I see no reason not to put this on PC if they can do that, and the fact that it's already going to be happening in Korea, I don't think that's really that big of a deal.
I have no doubts they'll make it West Side.
Yeah, for sure.
It's free money for them to port it to PS4 and PC.
Yeah. Now, whether or not I would buy it on PC, I don't really have any reason to play it on PC. I feel like this is a game that's perfectly created for the Switch mobile capability to be able to take it on the road or play it in bed. I don't like the idea of being strapped down to my PC to play this game, and it's not technically a graphical powerhouse to the point where I'm getting any kind of benefit by playing it on PC other than maybe if people mod the game, and unless people are going to like mod story and character interactions into the game, I'm probably not that interested, because other than that, like, I really like the game. So I wouldn't really want them to touch it too much.
Making them mod it where the grinding is so horrendous.
An easy mode, yeah. Maybe they could do that. I don't know. I mean, so I think this is cool. I think that it lets people play this game that didn't have a Switch but really wanted to play the game. That gives them another option, which only makes sense. That kind of sucks for Nintendo, because I know a lot of people would probably buy a Switch. Well, I guess if you haven't bought a Switch now to play this game, you probably won't in the future.
Nintendo don't care. If they wanted full exclusivity, they would have paid for it. They just wanted like some RPGs to throw in. They get some sales. Yeah. They already have. It's done and done. Who cares if it's ported to something else now?
Yeah, I guess you're right. At this point, the game's been out for almost a year, and it's been exclusive of that long. And again, if we're gonna get a PC port, we don't even know when that's going to happen. So by the time this thing comes out, it might not even be that big of a deal. So, but it's kind of cool that it is going to be available on PC. So if this is one of the games that you wanted to play, but you don't have a Nintendo Switch, you'll be able to play it on there. The actual Octopath Traveler, not a monetized microtransaction filled version that they might release on phone, but the actual original game. That can be really, really cool. So,
you know what I do hope they do?
What's
I hope
that?
they take like the first two Bravely games and port it to Switch, PS4, and PC.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that.
I mean, what's that game called? Alliance Alive is making a Switch port of its game.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I can see them doing that with Bravely Default also.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that I think about it, and I wonder, like, why have Switch versions not been announced? I mean, even games. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well, even the games like Xenoblade Chronicles, like the first one, given the success of the sequel, like, it baffles me that there hasn't been some kind of announcement already. And I assume I'm sure that's going to come. It just makes sense. They're just wanting a dull time to get excitement. But there's games like that. There's all the old Final Fantasy games on the Super Nintendo. Or the 3D remake of Final Fantasy IV, like, why that hasn't hit the Switch yet is just baffling to me, because that's just easy money.
It will inevitably. They already have Final Fantasy 3 and 4, the 3D versions on PC. It's all a matter of porting it. That's the version we would get on Switch.
Yeah, I just don't know why they got to take so long.
And unfortunately, if they ported Final Fantasy 5 and 6 to the Switch, it would be those lovely mobile versions.
Let's hope not.
that were ported to the PC. Same with Chrono Trigger. It's probably be the PC version.
Let's hope that it's a DS version of Chrono Trigger.
I mean, it technically is a DS version of Chrono Trigger.
Well,
it's just poorly ported.
Let's hope it's the DS version with like without the jackassery that went on afterwards, right? That's another game that I kind of baffles me that isn't on the Switch. I feel like that would be an easy money cash grab. So anyways, Dante Marshmallow says mod the game to not hurt my eyes. He's talking about Octopath Traveler.
Oh yeah.
I know you can turn down a lot of those filters in the menu settings, but yeah, it could be a little obnoxious. It also says Luigi's Mansion on Switch. ...
Too bad you got it on 3DS.
Oh, that's the most relevant system.
Yeah, that was an interesting decision to put Luigi's Mansion on the 3DS this late in the life cycle. I guess they already had it way before, and it's just now ready.
Yeah.
Because it would make more sense to put Luigi's Mansion on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
But, Luigi's Mansion 3 is coming out, so good enough.
Yeah, there you go. Next topic, though, I know is something that Eric is excited about. Do you want to give everyone a background on this Dragon Quest movie?
Yeah, it's a movie that's based on Dragon Quest 5. One of my favorites.
I'm going to try to pull up the trailer for it. This is not it, by the way.
Yeah, it's a story of the hero who, I don't know if the hero's got a name in this one. I'm not entirely sure what they said in the Japanese. Who ventures out in the world seeking the legendary hero and finding the gear for him, and to stop the evil that killed his mother and father. And that's the overall story to it. And I'm kind of wondering how they're going to take a game that was pretty long. Well, I think you could sink about 30 to 40 hours into a movie, but I don't know if you guys, but he's pulling up the trailer right now. Like, this isn't normal Japanese animation. This is something like more you see from like DreamWorks or like How to Train Your Dragon. It looks like, like it looks like Western animation. It's not even Akira Toriyama's art style, but it still looks really good. Like the production value is just so it's a very high production value. Like, it may not look like Akira Toriyama's artwork, but it's still got the spirit of Dragon Quest. Just watching the trailer, like the character designs look great, the action looks great. I mean, like, just the presentation value of it looks tremendous. Now, I don't know if this will be the movie that says you can make a video game movie, but I mean, one can hope with this one.
Yeah, that's my big thing, is that I don't think I've ever seen a video game movie that was actually very good. But then when I look at the production value on this movie, it looks really, really polished. Some of the people that are involved intimately with Dragon Quest games are involved with this movie. You have the composer of the series working on this. Yuji Horii is I don't know. They said he's got some kind of supervisory role. I'm sure he's just there to say, no, that's not very Dragon Quest. But when you look at this movie, this isn't like they tried to make it into something else, right? Like the Final Fantasy movie, Spirits Within, that was not a Final Fantasy movie. They just threw the Final Fantasy name on it. This actually looks like something that would be this looks like a Dragon Quest game or a movie. Like, this doesn't look like some weird adaptation that is only slightly related. So I am with you, though. I don't know how they're going to take such a long game and make it into a good movie. But
I watched this trailer, and I noticed, I know every scene in here. I know what scene it comes from. It's like they really are taking the game and translating it over. Like, I noticed the scenes that are like in the game, the characters and everything. It's just, I recognize it all. It's like, this is going to be, I think it's going to be very faithful to the game.
Yeah. This is a good time to bring up, if any of y'all like Dragon Quest V, we did review that game, so make sure you check that video out. But anyways, so Yeah,
In
it
short,
looks
go play it.
it looks like it's going to be really, really good. I was surprised. Apparently this has been announced for a while now, but I didn't know about it until this trailer. But it looks like it's supposed to come out in August this year in Japanese anyways. So
I'm
I'll
really
be,
hoping it gets a Western localization.
and I got
That'd
to
be nice.
think, yeah, and I got to think that at the very least, like they'll release a version with subtitles, which I would watch that for sure.
Oh, it'll get subtitles when it gets released a video, and I'll buy a copy. I'll get the Blu-ray from Japan and have it shipped here as long as it has English subtitles to it. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was interesting that the director of this movie, I don't obviously know his career or anything, but I was looking up his kind of his career in Japan as a director, and this isn't some like off-name director, right? They said he won a Japanese Academy Award for Best Screenplay on 3 different occasions, and he won one for Best Director as well in Japan. So, like, this is, I'm kind of impressed. They actually got like a actually well-known person to direct the movie, right? It's not like they just got with the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. They're just like, oh, you know, the art director, yeah, he's gonna direct this movie, even though he's never directed a movie ever in his life. He's gonna do this movie. Like, like they actually got somebody that does movies and that's like well known. So that just goes to speak how big Dragon Quest is in Japan.
Square learned their lesson this time. Don't make your own movie studio. Just let someone else do it.
Yeah. So I'm excited to watch it. It looks really, really polished. I'm curious to see which story segments they just skim over in the aim of time. I suspect it's going to be about an hour and 45 minutes. So
it might be longer. You gotta. There's a unless they're going to trim out a lot of fat.
I don't know, man. It's a CG movie. I know that can't be cheap. So
I think an hour and a half to 2 hours. 2 hours at most.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like later sections of the game with that whole transition. That's.
But notice where it says choose
tough.
your story. And you know in the game you choose in the original version you choose between 2 women to marry.
Uh-huh.
And in the DS remake there's 3 you can pick from, but I didn't see the 3rd one in there. So I assume they're going to do like the original 2. Do you think they're going to make it so you can choose like in the theater or something, or like 2 different versions of like, like the person you pick? Because look at the story. It's like it's called Your Story. Like, are we going to have some interactive involvement with it?
Maybe, but I think what they mean is like, hey, this is such a story that's such ingrained in our culture. It's your story, like it's your nostalgic story, like the story you grew up with. But I don't know. I see what you're saying when it says your story. That is an interesting point. Like, would they have different theater rooms? Like, hey, this is this bride. This is this bride. Go to the story you want. Or are they going to have like a vote in the theater? Like, I don't know. It is. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I believe in the Dragon Quest lore that that Bianca is the canon wife you choose. But the game is still set up that you pick her or pick her up or the other.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. What I did think is interesting is because this is a film adaptation, they had to add a voice actor for the protagonist. So it's going to be interesting to see if people have a problem with, what this character sounds like. They obviously had to write dialogue for the protagonist because they can't just have somebody that doesn't speak for 2 hours. That would be weird in a movie format. So
now I would like to point out, have you ever seen the movie Clue? The movie that was based off the board game?
No.
Did you know that there's did you know they had more than one ending they showed in theaters?
No.
Like if you went to the theater, you may have gotten one ending, and if you went and saw it again the next day, there would be a different ending.
I don't like that.
But if you watch it on video, it gives you both versions.
Oh, okay.
But that's something. That's a little thing they did. A little experiment they did in the movie theater.
Mhm.
I was definitely. I don't remember when the movie came out. I was either too young or I wasn't born yet. But that was an interesting experiment, and I'm wondering if that's something they might try again with this movie.
Yeah. That might be kind of interesting to see if that works, especially given that, a lot of that game has decisions that you can make that will, alter certain segments of the game. So, uh, yeah, it'll be interesting how they handle that. I did not know that about Clue, though. However, I suspect because I did not know that about Clue, it did not work successfully because I had not heard of it. I didn't know they made a Clue movie.
I think the nature of Clue that it's appropriate because when you play the board game, it's a different outcome every time.
Hmm.
Like I
Yeah,
think they were trying to emulate that to the movie, which entertaining. I don't think it works like normally for other movies where
sure.
people want a strict narrative structure to it.
Yeah. So I don't know. This looks really, really cool, though. I definitely want to check it out. So I'm gonna try to watch it as soon as possible. I'll even watch it in Japanese with some like fan translations over or something if that's my only option, because I definitely want to check it out. It looks really, really cool.
Totally not a bootleg version put on the internet with
Yeah,
with
or
fan translation.
like watch like 19 3-minute parts on YouTube or something.
We don't approve of that type of stuff here.
So, anyways, well, we kind of approve. If it gets me to watch it, I'm I'm kind of approval. Anyways, so we had a question on a Discord that we wanted to get to. So this is from, let me double check. I think it's from Second Entity podcast discussion questions. Yeah, Second Entity, who asks, was there an RPG that ever made you genuinely emotional? It doesn't happen often, but there have been a few occasions where a game has affected me either through powerful storytelling or an overwhelming feeling of nostalgia. Interested to hear if you guys have ever experienced something similar, and if so, what game and why?
I can name a few.
All right. So, which games made you genuinely emotional, and to what
Uh,
degree?
all the Metal Gear Solid games except 5.
I did not expect you to say that. I think he asked for RPGs, but we can throw other games in there too. I don't think
Oh,
it's a big deal.
RPG, Final Fantasy 10 and 9.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like the ending of 9 and 10. Like
Mm-hmm.
the 9 is like the I don't want to spoil, but it's like it's the joyful type ending that makes you emotional and you're glad like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And
Final Fantasy. Yeah. Go
then
ahead.
like
Sorry.
Final Fantasy 10,
Mm-hmm.
that one until 10-2 came out. That one was a real punch in the stomach. Like,
Yeah.
I mean that in a good way. Like, I got really emotional to that. And like the speech Yuna makes at the end, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, that hurts.
And she kind of hesitates while she says it and stuff like that. And you see her whistling on the dock and stuff like that. And it's just, yeah, it's a gut wrenching. Um, I would have to agree with those two. Final Fantasy 9. Once I beat that, still now when I beat that game, I can't. I'm like, God, I can't believe this game's over. I like it so much. Um, and there's some haunting sequences within the final scenes of the game that you don't really recognize until you think about it. And then Final Fantasy X as well, for the exact reasons you specified. Honestly, and I don't want this to be Final Fantasy only, but even Final Fantasy VII, not necessarily the ending. I thought the ending was okay in that game. I didn't think it was amazing, but spoiler alert for Final Fantasy VII. But when I was a kid, Aerith's death, like I did not see that coming as an 11-year-old kid or however old I was, and I was very bummed out about it. I did not want her to die. I like that character, and that got me emotional.
The weird thing about Eris's death in FF7
Mhm.
is it didn't hit me emotionally at first because when I first played it, I thought like, okay, we're gonna eventually get her back. She's like the female protagonist of the game, and she just can't go like that. And then when I realized it's like the end of the game, she's not there. Um, the whole ending to FF7 happens with
Yeah.
like whole meteor, and it's
And
like
she's just like, where is she?
that the part with like it was because the scene itself with Holy Meteor is not exactly emotional for me, but the realization of what her situation was and what did happen to her, it
Hmm.
was like fully solidified with me that she was gone. And like, oh, now I'm sad.
Yeah, I remember I was like looking up online on my dial-up internet that would take forever to load a page. I was sitting there looking up on some kind of GameFAQs type page. Like, is there a way to bring her back? Is there like something I can do in the game? You know, and there's all these rumors speculating around, like, oh, if you go to this town and you look at the clock tower, and then you go somewhere else, and then like you do all these things, like Kate Sith will give you like a enhanced Phoenix down, and then you have to go here and you can revive her. And you know, I was, you know, being a kid, I was like, oh yeah, like, and I was like following all these directions and it wouldn't work, and I was like, oh man, I must have done something wrong. And you know, that was the dawn of no verification on submissions to websites. So
And Route did have one weakness, and it was Game Shark.
yep, Game Shark. Yeah, I had that.
I'll say, to answer your question, is the Broly movie dubbed yet? Real quick, yes, it's already dubbed. The movie came out in theaters in January for a little while, and then the movie is supposed to come out in Blu-ray sometime this month, I believe. So check Amazon for that, see where it is. But sorry, back to the topic. I remember
Go ahead.
a really sad scene for me. That hit pretty hard in the Dragon Quest series, or a couple. One in particular, Dragon Quest VIII, when Angelo is talking to King Tradain
Mm-hmm.
about his past and how he first came to the Maela Abbey.
Mm.
Oh man, that past scene, oh, that hit me hard. Like he was a poor little kid just like walking by himself after his parents died like in battle.
Mm-hmm.
And like he in the Mila Abbey is like a kind of orphanage where they like raise the kids to be like Templar knights.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he goes there and he looks absolutely destroyed. Like everything was taken from him. And like you see the head priest there, like take him in, he's like talking to him, and like he it comes off he has nowhere to go, and like he like will he ever see his parents? I'm like, oh man, like this is really hard hitting for a Dragon Quest game.
Yeah, I I haven't really played that one too much, but I do know that well, obviously Dragon Quest 5, and I don't want to spoil the game, but you have a how his father leaves the game that really was like, oh man, that was like, this is terrible. The way the hero's father is essentially, okay guys, he dies, right? So how he leaves the game, and like you have all the enemies that are just like kicking him and beating him in front of you, and you're just a little kid and you just watch your father um pass away. That was terrible. Very, very emotional scene. And I really, I wouldn't say I was crying or anything, but I was definitely, I was a little silent during that scene because it was definitely a very well built scene. So
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually cried um to any of stuff like this. For I mean, I felt like that heavy feeling you get,
mhm.
like like your eyes can feel a little watery there, but like I've never like straight out cried.
Like bald cried. Yeah, I never done that.
Like not even as a kid. It's like but I've never really seen anyone around me do it either. It's like um I've seen people get like emotional or sad and stuff like that, but I've never seen like someone just go ball out crying or something. I don't know. It just may be the people I'm around, but
Yeah, you know, and I see sometimes I'll see these YouTube videos of people like uploading, and like it's like, you know, it's them watching like the end to like a game. Usually it's like a Final Fantasy game, and like they're really like, you see in the picture they got like tears running down their face. and it's like it gets me every time, and that just baffles me. Like I'm like, really, like you just flat out cry like every time. Like I'm just surprised, but you know that's not. I guess that's just not who I am. But I can definitely say that things resonate with me. So,
And I know I beat the dead horse on this, but there's scenes in Final Fantasy 14 that hit me hard. There were certain characters who I really loved died.
I feel like this question is terrible because like it's like it just asks us to like spoil like all these games. You're like, well, there's this game and then this like pivotal character dies, and then you know, and it's just like if you haven't played this game or you're very sensitive to spoilers, it could like ruin a portion of the game that's special to you. But
Now, I did cry at the Final Fantasy 15 after when I realized I spent $60 on this.
it was such a waste of money.
And I waited 10 years for it. Also.
Yeah.
I
I was gonna say when I was a little kid, I think I cried to Tetris, but that's because I couldn't beat it. And I was
fun fact.
You what?
No one can beat Tetris unless there's like a filter to stop when you reach a certain thing. But the point of Tetris is you keep going
For as long as possible.
Possible until done.
Yeah, I just remember being like really frustrated on the Nintendo, and I was just like, felt like this was impossible. So, but that's not really what he's going for. That wasn't powerful storytelling or overwhelming feeling of nostalgia. That was just frustration.
Yeah, like I said, outside of RPGs, the Metal Gear Solid series always hits me really hard at the end, particularly 3 and 4. Like 1 and 2, like had me like really thinking at the end of it, which had a different emotion for me. But ending of 3, when like the boss is there, like in the flower field, you hear everything and everything that led up to it, and you're given the prompt to shoot her, and I'm like, oh, please don't make me do this.
Yeah,
do not make me do it. And then like just at the end, when it makes me watery thinking about it now. Just when Big Boss salutes to the grave. Oh man, did men cry that day? Really,
yeah,
and then
a great series.
4 was just like a really nice like everything just tied up real nicely. Got the deal like just the way it ended. It's just such a nice closure to the series. That like, and I think it was just executed so well. Just like with Snake and Big Boss finally getting their closure and everything, it was just so good. I loved it so much. Like, and it just gets you really emotional with that. But the answer to the question, yes, there are games that did get me emotional. That's why I played them. That's why I enjoyed them, because sometimes they get me like that. Not every game manages to do that, but
yeah, and I think there's like I think almost every game that I complete gets me in a certain way, right? Usually it's a couple one of a few different things. Either I just am a little just like overwhelmed with the fact that like a game I spent a significant amount of time with is now done, and I'm not really going to spend time with those characters anymore, or that I know everything there is to know about the cast of characters. There's not some like new story development. The story's not going to keep going. I'm not going to, enjoy that time anymore. Or sometimes, like we talked about earlier, it's just the way the story is constructed, and a certain event happens, and I'm just like, I didn't see it happening, and it's just like, oh my god, like a gut punch, just like Jesus Christ, like that's not what I wanted to happen.
I guess
or I didn't see that happen.
Satisfied would be the right word, maybe.
Yeah, I think emotionally satisfied. I think that's the way I felt with Final Fantasy IX when that ended. Like I was emotionally satisfied. I was just like, that was a great ending to a great game. This is timeless. That's the way I felt when I finished Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy X, when I finished that game, I was just like, kind of like the opposite of that, or the other side of the coin of this took a dramatic turn of events, and this is depressing, but in a good way. So, you can kind of do either or. Works for me.
like I get those feelings too. Like, what do I do with my life now that I've completed this?
Yeah.
Like for the first few hours of the day, then it's like, okay, I'll play this next. But like,
Well, there's some games that I enjoy and I put a lot of hours into, but I almost look forward to when they're done, right? And when I complete it, I'm just like, I'm kind of sad that I'm not going to get to see the characters again, but there's a part of me that's kind of like, I'm glad I don't have to play this anymore for a while. I can play something else. Even games. Go ahead.
like, just to add into what you said, it's a conflicting thing. Like you want it to end, but you don't want it to end at the same time.
Yeah.
Like you want the story to keep going. That's how Dragon Quest XI was for me. I just wanted.
I was about to. Oh, okay. Well, I was about to bring up that like I kind of felt like I really enjoyed that game, but I put so much time into it that I just wanted it to end by the time I got there. But then after it was over, I was like, man, I kind of miss these characters. But I think part of the reason why I wanted it to end where I got to was I thought the game was over, and the game wasn't over, and then I didn't realize that you had to use a sword of light, which made the final encounter a little bit, like quite a bit easier. So I was trying to kill him without the sword of light, and that's not the lore way he dies, right? That's not how the game's supposed to go. So it's almost impossible to do that. So I leveled all my characters up to level 99 and got like I like crafted like almost the best stuff I could get. Like every piece of item was like maxed out that I could do. And like I spent so much time just doing that. And like I just was like, why can't I still beat him? Or why can't I beat him? Until I realized I'm an idiot. I just need to use the sword of light. And then I just killed him in like 3 minutes because everyone was level 99. But so like with that type of experience, I was ready for that game to end. I felt like, okay, I need this game to end. But I still look back on it fondly. Xenoblade Chronicles, again, I was ready for that game to end. Even though I look back on it and I'm like, that was a great game, great story, very enjoyable time. Like, man, my hour on that game was like over 100 hours. I was ready for that game to end. Like it just kept going. So sometimes it's games overstay their welcome even though they're good. For me. So
I definitely get this feeling that I play like a Mario Zelda. Like I get all 121 stars and Mario 64, and I'm like, what do I do with my life now? It's been getting these stars. I have a Breath of the Wild was definitely that. It was it was like I get 100% on that on normal mode, and I'm like, oh man, what do I do with my life now? 100% this game. Then it's like they release Master Mode. I'm like, oh, that's what I do. I do it all over again in Master Mode.
Yeah. See, I didn't get that way with that game though. So I enjoyed it. I'm still playing it every now and again, but I guess maybe it's just my mentality. I run around for like an hour and then I'm like, all right, I'm done with Breath of the Wild for like the next month. And then I'll pick it up again and play it for like another hour. Like it's hard for me to play that for 8 hours a day, or however long. Huh.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just looked to the right and apparently my Final Fantasy VII game crashed on my Switch.
So that's a negative point against Final Fantasy VII on the Switch.
That's the first time it happened, so
Who knows?
I was paused at when you're on the train, crashing the Corel, trying to get the huge area from Shinra.
Yeah.
That point right now, and I was paused on the battle point. It crashed. But that's the only time it's ever crashed.
Well, you saw it live here. But anyways, do you have anything else you want to bring up about games that make you emotional?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So, but if you guys have some suggestions of games that made you emotional, let us know in the comments and we'll talk about it next week. But I think that pretty much wraps us up for this week. We saw some other news articles out this week, but I saw GameStop was crashing. Xbox has a new subscription service.
Already.
Yeah. We kind of already talked about those. They came out with some new information, but nothing that's that exciting. So What are you gonna do? But anyways, if you guys have any topic suggestions or you guys see some news articles that you want to bring to our attention, best way to do that, go down in the description, click on the Discord link, and it'll let you into our Discord server, and you can go to there and just post a link to the news article, or you can just ask a question in the podcast questions section, and we'll try to get to it on the next podcast if we have enough time to, or we'll do it on the next one. But other than that, I guess we will see you all next week. Take it easy, guys.